David,
yes,
you broke the bank last night.
4,000 people came together at the Javits Center, where you two were, and then 1,000 people had 2 extra parties, and we raised more than $100 million to fight poverty here in New York City.
Now, how much of this money, last year, of all the money that you raised, a huge portion of it came just from your board? I want to say, like, of the $100 million, 73 came from your board.
Our board is incredibly generous. Paul Jones sets the pace, and then we've got extraordinary people who follow. But what's great is that tens of thousands of people are part of the Robin Hood community. Some people give $1, that helps save lives. Some people get to give $1 million. Last night, Bill and Karen Ackman and the Pershing Square Foundation gave $25 million to help poor New Yorkers.
Didn't take long to match those dollars, did it?
Well, thankfully, the people in the room were really receptive when they heard about Karen and Bill's generosity, and they were able to come up with another $25 million.
Then all of those New Yorkers who received the generosity and the great work from Robin Hood, what do they think about this divide, this attack on hedge funds?
Well, I don't think that poor people are really thinking about hedge funds. I think poor people are thinking about, how do I feed my family? How do I keep a roof over our head? How do I make sure that my kids get a great school?
Well, the truth of the matter is they might be thinking about hedge funds, and the reason for that is the President of the United States had a few things to say about hedge funds in the context of inequality, in the context of education. This is what he said yesterday. Have a look.
The top 25 hedge fund managers made more than all the kindergarten teachers in the country. So when I say that, I'm not saying that because I dislike hedge fund managers or I think they're evil. I'm saying that you're paying a lower rate than a lot of folks who are making $300,000 a year. You pretty much have more than you'll ever be able to use and your family will ever be able to use. There's a fairness issue involved here. And by the way, if we were able to close that loophole, I can now invest in early childhood education that will make a difference. And if we can't ask from society's lottery winners to just make that modest investment, then really this conversation is for show. If we can't ask that much, right? So,
the President getting an enthusiastic response from his audience. Let's find out what David Saltzman and author and Bloomberg contributing editor Bill Cohan have to say about it. David, let's go back to you before we get to Bill. When you hear the President describe your constituency, effectively, hedge fund managers and private equity managers, many of the people who were at the Robin Hood benefit last night, describe them as lottery winners, what do you think?
Yesterday in that conversation, the President talked about everybody coming together to fight poverty, conservatives, liberals, and everybody in between, and part of that was to address tax policy. Now, I'm not a tax policy expert, but I think everybody would be for a system that not only is fair, but seems fair. Part of what's going on today is that people don't understand the tax system, and many people feel that the deck is stacked against them.
Does the President understand the tax system?
He definitely understands it better than I do.
Okay, then, Bill, let's just break this down, because if you actually look at carried interest, and if they did change the law, over the course of 10 years, it would only bring in a total of $18 billion, which isn't that much money. And when he said that these hedge fund managers are only paying 15%, they're actually paying 23.8%, and if they're in New York, tack on another 14%. So he's saying the conversation is just for show, but couldn't one make the argument his points are just for show, and the fact that he's saying it is just stoking the fires in terms of class warfare? It's not going to move any needle.
Oh, boy, it's awfully early for this. Okay.
Bring it.
Here we go. Here we go.
Let's go.
So I think you have to split it into 2 pieces, right?
Please.
Because you have to split the 2 from the 20. Okay, the 20 is...
Let's remind everybody what carried interest is, right? It's favorable tax treatment on the profit portion of the money that hedge funds, bring in. They charge a management fee, they get a percentage of the profits.
In my view, you have to separate the 2%, which is the management fee, the 2% fee on all of the assets under management.
And there's standard gains in the ordinary taxes.
And 20% on the money that they make from smart investing. Okay? We in this country have long allowed a lower rate to exist, tax rate to exist on capital investment.
Because it's money at risk.
Because it's money at risk. And so I have no problem with
carried interest.
With the 20%, okay, return on smart investments, okay? The 2%, which is a fee whether you invest that money or not, now that is more like wages. That to me is more like a W-2. That's more like a 1099.
But
so
that's
to me,
treated, that's treated at the standard income.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Well, it is carried interest. The carried interest.
Are you telling me that the 2% is treated? Can we get Steve Schwartzman back from yesterday?
So carried interest, carried interest means a lot more if you're a private equity guy than a hedge fund guy. But let's also break down.
It's pretty great for a hedge fund guy too. The 20%.
That's only a
I'm talking about the 2%.
Okay, but if you're the president of the United States and you are looking for a way to bring in more dollars, as he says, to educate American children, 18's not that much money, but it makes a beautiful
That's
headline.
not fair. That's not fair.
All right.
You can't parse 18 here and 3 there and 7 here. It's about fairness and about what's right. You can't allow, if it's in fact true.
David's right. It is about fairness. The question is, what's fair?
Well, and also what appears to be fair.
Well, that's absolutely true. Listen, look, can I posit a thought?
Please.
That the criticism shouldn't, whether it's from the president or from you for that matter, Bill, shouldn't be directed necessarily at the hedge fund managers. I'm not saying the hedge fund managers
anyone getting
are
2 and 20, but I don't have a problem with the capital gains rates on the 20.
Criticism should be directed at the investors who are prepared to pay. Look, if the investors thought they were getting a bad deal, if the pension funds and endowments and sovereign wealth funds of this world thought that they were getting a bad deal from these hedge fund managers and private equity firms,
that's different.
They wouldn't invest at those fee rates.
No, but
that's their choice.
No, but you're not. You're talking about whether or not investors should invest at 2 and 20. That seems to be the market, and a lot of people think that's too high and it should be 1 and 10 or whatever. That's a different issue than what actual tax rates the people who benefit from 2 and 20 get. Again, if you're getting a return on capital because of a smart investment, then you should get a capital gains tax rate. If you're getting a fee, which is more like income, W-2 income, then you should pay W-2 income. Standard tax rates.
You work with many of these hedge fund managers. Last night, you didn't have picketers outside, though many of us expected you would. Your co-founder, Paul Tudor Jones, has had these hedge clipper picketers outside his front door. What is your message to them? You're someone who helps poor New Yorkers every single day, and you work with New York's wealthiest.
We share their passion. We want to invest in kids. They want to invest in kids. We may differ on how to get there, and honestly, I think it's sort of scurrilous and silly that they go after people for being generous. That seems sort of crazy and misguided to me, but we agree with them that poor kids, that poor families deserve a shot.
You know, I think Americans are schizophrenic on this issue because, on the one hand, they really want to have people like Steve Schwartzman who you know,
give $150 million to Yale yesterday.
They really like a lot of things that he does because it's very aspirational, right? To be able to make, to succeed something, to build a better mousetrap and get rewarded for that, that is very American, okay? On the other hand, there is a growing divide between rich and poor in this country that I think Obama is trying to address. What is fascinating to me is to see Obama unleashed in this last 2 years.
All right, well, maybe he could have a conversation with Silicon Valley. They've got pretty rich, too, but he only seems to hate on Wall Street.
No. I think he's equal opportunity.
I'll tell you what,
right,
the debate is going to continue in the future, and we wish the president would join us. As always, Bill, thank you very much. Bloomberg contributing editor and author Bill Cohan. David Saltzman of the Robin Hood Foundation. Congratulations.
$101 million.
Listen, there is a debate, but what is indisputable is that the Robin Hood Foundation does some fantastic work here in New York City, and the money is being put to good use.